Good morning.
Good morning. Let's give it a minute. Hi.
Hi.
Let's give it a few seconds to see if someone else is joining, and then we can start. Okay. Welcome to Delivery Group Weekly. This is 27th of June, 2022. So we have some announcement about Friend and Family Days upcoming, the one in July, the 11th, August the 29th, and upcoming time of some people actually. So it looks like that July is going to be a day where some of us are going to take some time off. We also have the announcement that Scarbeck made last week about the fast food proposal. So please go there and add your availability in the case you didn't, and it will be very helpful also if you have any comments to add to that paper.
I did have some questions for the fast food proposal. One of them, I was wondering if Vlad should be added to this.
I'm going to say, I'm afraid I don't think we'll be able to manage that. As tempting as it is, I mean, we certainly can consider it, but I think probably, Vlad, if we are wrapping up your internship in the next few weeks, that this might be a bit of a tough one. So unfortunately, I don't think we'll be able to manage that.
I haven't read it yet. Sorry about that. Sorry for interrupting. I haven't read that yet, so I'll have to defer to Amy's opinion.
The second question was, I was wondering if we should work or fine tune any of our goals or deliverables prior to trying to work on our dates. When I was writing this, I was hesitant to try to figure out what the goals and our deliverables should be, because I don't know when, assuming it gets accepted, I don't know when we'll be able to get together. And one of my fears is that we'll work on some of these goals or deliverables prior to fast boot, which kind of renders this useless. And I'm afraid if that happens, it wouldn't get accepted. So I didn't know how to approach that when I was writing this up.
I guess we'll have probably something to prepare in advance, because it's something fast boot is also, to my understanding until now, that we need to work on something that we need to fast boot some activities. So I'm not sure which level of details we need to have there, or if this is something that we can discuss in any future meeting. Or maybe if, Amy, do you have any more details? So you participated to any of those before in the past?
I don't know. No, I haven't. No. I'm assuming yes is probably the answer, but I'm not sure, to be honest. So I think for now, if we can figure out everybody's availability, that might at least give us a rough timeline for when we're aiming for. And then that might help with the goals.
Perfect. Thank you. Then we take this one offline and discuss it further probably in the document itself. Thank you. Amy, do you want to verbalize your point?
Yes. So a big milestone here is the changelog has now officially been handed over to the release stage group. So I just merged this into the features owned by group earlier today. So this means that I think we just have two or three perhaps changelog issues that are open on our tracker, which I will move to theirs. But it means that any kind of future requests on the changelog feature would go to release stage group, and they may come to us for help, but we wouldn't be the primary owners. So the reason I put it in discussion, I just wanted to share a little bit of context around this, because that in itself is not really a huge discussion worthy thing. But building the changelog, we did that as a dog fooding item, but delivery built the feature. We designed the feature. We worked with product managers to sort of agree the direction, and then we fully implemented it. So we did manage to build something. It is in use, and all the teams have adopted it. However, it's been really, really difficult to actually hand this over and get ownership and move this forward. So I wanted to share this as a kind of, this probably isn't the best way to dog food things in the future. And I think we have a couple of other approaches for dog fooding that have shown to work better. So one is the opening issue. So when it's a feature similar to changelog, where it's sort of, we are the primary driver of a feature, opening an issue in the team backlog, which I've linked here to an example of a bunch of things that Ruben actually opened, which have so far been, they'd take a little while to schedule, but have been very uncontroversial. Or the other way is, if we want to move things a bit faster, is actually we pair up with a stage group. So we get an issue in their backlog. When they choose to prioritize it, we can ask them to prioritize it. We then pair with them. But either way, sort of working directly out of a stage group's issue tracker versus changelog, where we took full ownership of everything, and then at a later date had to hand it over to a team. Are there any questions either about changelog or about dog fooding?
With this being part of a dog fooding effort, and since we are the party who kind of initiated everything, what are we going to do in the future to prevent us from starting something and then blindly handing or attempting to hand it off to another team?
I think we just need to be clear up front on what we want to do. So for this one, for example, for the changelog, this was always our plan. So we always intended to build inside the product and then hand it over. But what we didn't do was get a team lined up to be the owners of the code before we wrote it. So we were like, they roughly agree on the idea. We will do all of the coding and then later hand it to you. And that's been really tough. So I think what we'd do in this case would be to go, here's an idea we want. We would find the team from the very, very beginning, and we could then just collaborate directly with that team. Because even in terms of the product managers we worked with, we didn't necessarily have the product manager. In fact, we definitely didn't, but I don't know if we would have done even if teams had changed. We didn't have the product manager at the beginning who ultimately became the owner. So later it was kind of like a whole team got ambushed a bit with us saying, hey, great news, here's a feature we've built for you, which it works. We have a way, it's a kind of community contribution model, but it's just meant that it's been a lot slower. So like we've been holding ownership of changelog since say last March as the maintainers until today, but we haven't really had capacity to do maintenance if we'd have needed to. So it's not a great model. So I think in the future, if we're building things into the product with the intention that they are going to be owned by a stage group, we should do one of the other two approaches instead.
So what's the next thing we're building
in the product? Well, I mean, it depends. One of the ideas that is kicking off hopefully quite soon came out, we talked about it a little bit in our last AMA. So we're hoping to start working with release stage group quite soon on figuring out what some kind of dashboard or entry point into the whole thing could be. So that's a really good one. I think it's kind of changelog like, where it's quite a big thing. I could see us ending up doing a lot of the implementation, but the actual discovery work will be fully owned by release stage groups. So that's certainly one that's going on. But I think there are quite a lot of little things in flight around like cluster configuration, and that's probably the other real big possibility, or environment locking. I know Graham's got ideas there. So there are quite a lot of pieces, but there's not that many where we go, here's an entire new feature that we would like to see in existence. In fact, your pipeline monitoring idea you had the other week, Scarlett, is an example of something like this, right? Where it's like, actually a great idea. We should maybe try and figure out what team might that live with and start discussing with them and see if it actually, you know, goes somewhere.
Thank you. Anyone else has any extra point what to discuss today? Anything else we want to bring in the recording?
Yes, could we go through 3 and get, like, Myra, are you able to do the release manager piece?
Okay.
This is for last week, right? Or
What do you mean by this?
like the auto deploy packages dashboard and the walkthrough?
Oh, they are the links. They might be showing. I don't know if they're showing. They should be showing. You should have, there should be data available though. I believe they're all updating.
Yeah, but I'm not clear. What should I do?
Oh, I see. So, okay, great. So what, this is great content for all of you actually. So what we're hoping for is to get to a place where everybody in the team is able to walk through these dashboards in the way Alessio has been doing for the last few months. So what we should do next Monday, Myra, is, would you mind scheduling some time with Alessio and Ahmad next Monday before Delivery Weekly? So the 3 of you can go through the dashboards, because one thing Alessio and I were talking about, which kind of why I'm glad you asked the question, is how much has the knowledge shared across the team? And I think you've answered the question, which is it hasn't. So this will be a good one, maybe before next Monday's meeting. If you sit down with Alessio and Ahmad, then 3 of you have the knowledge, and then you can be handing it on to the future release managers.
Okay.
Great.
Thank you. Anything else you want to bring on the recording? No, they are gonna stop the recording.